In all this conversation about your soul wants 5 things, there's one item I'd like to slow down and go over with you, and that is, what are the 5 mystical practices? And I intentionally use the word mystical, not spiritual, because what is mysticism? Mysticism is the living experience of the presence of the divine. Well, the very first thing your soul wants is to connect with Source. And the mystical practice is deep soul writing. It's not the only way to connect with the divine, but it is the easiest, simplest, fastest, it can happen almost the very first time you pick up a pen, way to experience the presence of the divine on the page. And I will share with you the teachings of Teresa of Avila on how do you recognize the signature of the divine. How do you discern the presence of the divine and you? And it turns out, I about fell out of my chair when I read this in her interior castle, that the things I've been saying about how you recognize the signature of the divine on the page and in your ears, because it does come that way too. Here I am speaking in the 21st century, and Teresa of Avila in the 15th century said exactly the same thing. This is a mystical practice. The second mystical practice is living your soul vows, and it becomes a chant. Once you travel through the chakras in soul vows, deep soul exploration, you receive your soul vows in the heart chakra, the 4th, but in the 5th, they tell you their song and their dance, and you begin to chant them in the sacred, ancient Hebrew method of sacred chant. We take a little wisdom from the sacred Hebrew and a little from Hildegard of Bingen and chant, not sing, chant our soul vows. And as you live them, chant them, you are literally, not figuratively, gathering the presence of the divine in you, through you, and as you. That is a mystical practice. The third thing your soul wants is to live its purpose, to serve the purpose you came with. And it's right there, floating over your head in your 8th chakra. You just perhaps have not been listening. And we will enter into an awareness. It's my most mystical course. We'll go backwards in time to birth and discover the meaning of all the choices your soul made about your birth, and then backwards a little bit farther to conception to remember your soul's purpose. When you align your life with your soul's purpose, past, present, and future, it doesn't get more mystical than that, you change not only your life, but the life of everyone that you have walked with, past, present, and future. That is a mystical practice. The 4th thing your soul wants is to express its beauty. Now you might look at the way I make dinner, the way I decorate my home, a little painting I do, a little dancing I do, being in the choir, caring for my elderly parents, the way I raise my children, the teaching that I do, or in my case, the writing that I do. You might say, well, how is that a mystical practice? Well, creativity is the union of the divine and the human. Matthew Fox said it so perfectly in his book, Creativity, where the divine and the human meet. And my understanding of that is the Vesica Pisces that is created at the union of your craft, whatever that may be, and the union of your spiritual practice. I call that the intersection. And I will teach you how to create in the intersection. And I know you'll have the experience that I have. In this room, you cannot separate. Oh, there's Janet doing her spiritual practice. Oh, there's Janet writing her books. It's all connected in the intersection. And when you're in that theta flow, when you are doing your creative work in service to the divine, you are carried to places you could never, ever imagine or create on your own. Creativity is the sweetest mystical practice of all. And the 5th thing your soul wants is to create life. And in that last experience, the lotus and the lily, following the wisdom of Buddha and Jesus, we create an intention mandala. And it's way mystical, and yet, modern physics kind of, sort of explains it, that when you're living the fertile conditions, that's how Buddha and Jesus said to create a life. Never mind getting clear about what you want. It's not about what you want. It's about living the fertile conditions that create in you this rich soil in which the universe, the angels, can plant some seeds that grow at a speed you could never even ask for. It's an extraordinary mystical experience. So those are the 5 mystical practices in your soul life.